The world is lost right now, and we need guys and girls to stand up as leaders. Or surely not me. Yeah, you. If you're listening to this, you're not listening to my mistake. Is stand up, because we can literally be anybody we want to do.
Hi, everybody. Thank you for joining us here on the Breaking the Silence podcast, brought to you by Addiction Rehab Toronto. My name is Sean McBride, and I'll be your host for this podcast. With me, I am very grateful, very humbled to have with me Dr. Robb, also known as Dr. Robb Kelly, brilliant in the field of neuroscience and addiction and recovery, and just a general all-around champion for mental health and well-being. Thank you so much for joining me today, Dr. Robb.
Of course, Sean, it's a pleasure to be here. Hey, guys at home, sit down, because this is going to be a good one.
Absolutely. I'm stoked to have you on here. So just to tell everybody who might not be familiar with you, this is the founder of the Robb Kelly Recovery Program, or Recovery Group, I should say. They do a lot of groundbreaking work, from somatic experience therapy, neuro-linguistic programming, brain spotting. And as I understand it, a big part of all that, because the person is in their home, they're not actually going to a clinic, is very rigorous and strict check-ins with the person. Is that accurate? Yeah.
Yeah, so we believe that. I'm an alcoholic myself, or used to be, suffered, lost everything, homeless, lost kids. Is you have to recover in your own environment, because things change on a daily basis, and we need to be able to deal with them as they come. Now, I always look at treatment centers. Some of the models of treatment centers are broken, but there's some great ones out there. It's more of a respite for the family more than anything else. So we kind of pick up after they come, or we start the 90-day program here. But yeah, the success rate we have is 98%. And when people hear that, they go, that's impossible. Well, hang on a second. You have to realize what we do. So first of all, when a patient comes along, he takes an assessment here. You can't just walk in with a checkbook, or, we could call a lot of treatment centers now. The first question we're going to ask this, Sean, is, do you have insurance? We don't do. You have to earn your place here. So that's number one. So when we do that, the success rate goes up by 12%, just by assessing. And we turn down more people than we take on. Second, if it's a man and wife, or if the man comes here and he's married, the wife has to come on board for 2 days a week. So he does 7 days a week and 90 days. She has to come on board for 2 days to work on her trauma. And most wives will go, well, it's his problem. No, you're just suffering from PTSD, my dear. And if you don't sort that out, you're going to die, never mind the husband. So if the wife disagrees, doesn't come on board, we will not take the patient. So they've got to be joined in. It's just like two languages going on here. It's like picking a patient up from a house that, let's say, speaks English, and then we stick him in even here, our treatment center, and recovery has some language. Let's say it's French. After 90 days, you pick the French guy up, you put him back in English house, he's going to start speaking English. So that's the other thing. When we involve the family systems, which is the wife and anybody, children over the age of 18 that lives in a house, the success rate goes up by 42%.
That's massive.
Almost 60% before he even steps into the room.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I used to, for many years, offer a money-back guarantee. If we don't get you where you have this amazing life, or if you relapse, I will give you your money back. That's how confident we are. Now, we have to admit, we've had over 11,000 patients that's gone through this.
10,000, wow.
11,000 over 25 years. So, but my wife says you can't keep saying that, because somebody's going to come along. Stop saying it. But yeah, we're very confident in what we do.
25 years and not yet. So that's pretty good. But I'm staggered by the numbers. I mean, 42%, that's massive. And, it does make a lot of sense, right? Because if the person recovers, but like you said, that wife or significant other, or even, a child in the home, for instance, if they're still expecting that wild person, so to speak, the second they come back in the home, that alone could be triggering. But I'm curious, I'm always interested in when people say success rate. So when you say a 98% success rate, is that a mortality rate? Like, nobody has any, suicidal tendencies afterwards? Or is it more they just stay on the straight and narrow afterwards?
When they come to us, we have a program for the rest of your life. If you continue that program after you leave us, then 98% of people keep sober.
Wow.
So, because
fantastic.
we have stuff like Nine Dimensional Breathwork that's a company I've created with this software that restructures brain patterns. So what basically happens is because we have that change of pathways and we restructure and repattern the brain as well as different language and body and all this stuff that we have to work on. And there's a lot of stuff too, like methylation. We've got food. Illness is coming down to two things: toxicity and deficiency. That's it. Every illness in the world. What am I being poisoned by? And what am I deficient in? So when all that's played into it, it's our staying sober success rate.
That's amazing. And you mentioned 90 days. Is that like your baseline? Like you won't take anybody for less than that?
It's kind of what we're kind of chemicals start to settle. Brain structure starts to reinforce and becomes a working part of the brain as the neural pathway solidifies. So 90 days is pretty good, but 90 days is not like it was never a neuroscience thing. It just happens because that was an insurance thing. We'll pay for 90 days, but actually 90 days we're comfortable at that, and it's 7 days a week, 1 hour a day, telehealth, like we spoke about, and you leave us. So you leave us like this. There's a spiritual side to this deal that you have to get. So if you're an atheist, you want to come in, I can't help you. So spiritual side, neural pathway change, brain structure equals your DNA changes. Why is that important? You're not the same person as you leave us and when you come to it.
Makes sense. That makes a lot of sense. I love that you actually get into, the neuroplasticity and the neuron rewiring aspect of it, because I feel like a lot of times with CBT and DBT, they touch on it, but it's not as effective. Could you elaborate maybe on some of your modalities and practices that you find to be most effective in treatment?
So what we have to look at when people come to us is we deal with addiction, alcoholism, depression, PTSD, anxiety, and then we just done some early research on Alzheimer's, which we have a 13% increase in short-term memory. So you have to look at what we do. So alcohol has 1% to do with alcoholism, and the same with every other drug, addiction, food, sex, porn. It's 1%. So what's going on is here. I never had a drinking problem. I had a thinking problem. So when we do the research and the neuroscience and the brain science behind this, with all the scans that we've done, we figured out that around 300 neural pathways die every day.
Wow,
so what are you replacing them with? Are you replacing them with repeated behavior from old patterns? Never be tall enough, thin enough, blonde enough, or rich enough? Are we replacing them with thought patterns from mom, dad, teachers, friends, that you never amount to anything, the trauma you went through, that they abandoned? Are we repeating, or are we putting new neural pathways, new thoughts into the brain? And the answer is, all has to be new thoughts. So how do we create thought? Well, the mind is very good in the brain at creating thoughts, but it's not very good at dismantling thought.
Sure.
So we can build this. And this is one of the things when people go to bed at night time and they're so tired, but as soon as their head hits the pillow, bing, the mind comes on and starts racing. Is because you haven't dismantled the thought that you've been working through today. So it's very important. NLP, neuro-linguistic program, I'm going to teach you a different language. Brain spotting. We're going to go through the pupil into the subconscious mind, and we're going to pull that stuff out. EMDR, all the great stuff, but the biggest one at the moment that we're using is the 9-dimensional breathwork therapy, which basically is headphones. You're taken through all the 420 hertz and all that stuff, and it has 9 subliminal messages every 45 seconds.
Wow.
So you're not hearing this go in. You're listening to the main voice and maybe a bit of music, but you're not getting the binary beat. You're not getting the subconscious programming that it's doing.
Yeah.
But when the prefrontal cortex says, hey, give me an answer now, because that's its job, and it does it amazing in milliseconds, the problem is it doesn't have to be the right answer. So when the prefrontal cortex is screaming, give me an answer, 9 out of 10 times, if nobody's done anything or worked on themselves, the answer is going to come from the subconscious brain. I don't think I can do that. I'm not good enough. I feel any imposter.
Yeah.
When we do this work, what happens in the morning, we do our breath work, which we'll go through. is this is subconscious brain wakes us up in the morning. Why? Well, it thrives in hypoxic situations. So during the night between 2 and 5 o'clock on a normal circadian sleep pattern is when the body is at rest. All the repairs are happening. It's also when most people die of natural causes. So when we wake up, subconscious brain wakes us up. We got to get rid of this guy. Once the conscious brain is running the show, then the prefrontal cortex screaming, give me an answer, will go straight to the conscious brain and not the bad guy over here. Because this guy here wants to kill you and make you look like an active.
Yeah, yeah. Wow. I love how, I talk to many people and, a lot of them know the stuff, but to see you be able to break it down so simplistically, I mean, that's really a value, and it must be a value to your clients as well. So I know I was talking to you briefly about, EMDR. Is there a difference between EMDR and brain spotting necessarily? Is it just, where the attention is drawn, or what's the separation there?
So the backstory is it's similar. But what we found while using EMDR is the lights sometimes trigger different moods. So you might go in there and you might come out great, you might come out moody, you might be depressed. Because most people that I know who suffered what we've suffered and the ailments suffer from light deprivation.
Mm-hmm.
So, depression. So we have brain spotting, which is much better as far as we're concerned. Now, we still do EMDR, but we do it online. We have software we use online, so there's no flashing lights. It's just the 2 balls across the screen. But brain spotting, just finished a session just before I got on with you. Incredible. Once you stick on that point where the eye flickers, you stick on that point with whatever we're using, and we stay there for more than 4 minutes, the subconscious brain starts to open. And then all of a sudden this stuff, one of the guys just here, a father used to, molest them and stuff like that. Now that was locked. She didn't know anything about that until today. That's why, for me, I used to be on it. I always get on 10 minutes early. I was 2 minutes early today because of that. It was such a break.
That's amazing. And it really is wild. I don't think people understand the scope. When they hear about these practices, it's one thing, but to actually see it in practice, like you said, like a massive breakthrough like that, something that could overshadow, how you effectively process anything, the guilt, the shame, the repressed trauma. And then even for me, what I find fascinating is how the brain can rewrite memories, just completely alter facts and, even things like, how someone looked, and especially at a young age. Do you deal with people of every age, like children, teens as well, or is it all adults?
No, we deal with children. We have a children's program on the breathwork therapy stuff. We have 2 therapists there that deal with minors. So it's right through from, I don't know, the youngest kid we've had is like 10 years old. Wow. And the oldest one was 92, I think. So wow. all ages, because we're not dealing with the person, we're dealing with the mind.
For sure.
Fascinating to watch. And it's fascinating the work because we've researched everything I talk about today, our own. We've done so many experiments, we do it on our own. The flea experiment, the water experiment. We do all these things on our own to make sure that we've got it right, that what we're saying is the truth and it's tried and tested. Because I take it very personally when somebody comes in and fails. Or when somebody comes in and just goes, screw it, I'm out of here. I take it personally. If there's been obviously thousands of people I've worked with, but there's been maybe a couple of hundred that's relapsed, I'm the guy that stays awake all night, going over if I've missed anything. Or is it just him getting up going, I've had enough, which people do, myself loads of times. So it's like a personal thing for me. It's not a job, it's real. So when we found out we did neuroscience, we came up with this saying that you're either going to love me right now or you're going to hate me. And that is that alcoholics are born and drug addicts are made.
Wow, that's impactful. Not to candor to your ego, but I'll tell you right now, to me, that makes you sound like a healer and not just a doctor. The fact that you take it personally, you introspectively look at why did this happen. It's a big difference between someone just punching in, punching out. Do you find, because I know for myself being in recovery as well, and it sounds like we've had very similar experiences, do you find that people actually have more passion and more concern to help when they've been through the worst of it versus someone who, you know, has never actually personally experienced that and just say went to school for psychology?
If you haven't gone through, when it comes to addiction and alcoholism, it's okay for depression, PTSD. If you're trying to teach or help people with addiction and alcoholism and you haven't personally been through it, you can't help. Stop doing it. You're doing more damage. Stop it. Well, I went to college. I don't give a shit how long you've been to college for, you know, a certificate in alcoholism. You don't know how we think. So I wanted a therapist myself. So we pulled 3 therapists out the phone book and or online, like a whole iron. First one I went to, nice guy. And I asked him, "Were you an alcoholic and addict?" And he goes, "Oh, no. But I've obviously 8 years and 6 years." I said, "Okay, thank you, but you're not for me." And he, "Whoa, can I just ask why?" I said, "Yeah, you don't know my thinking around alcohol." Completely. Well, explain. "Okay, you have a bottle of vodka behind your back." And he goes, "Okay, and I want it. What are you going to do?" "Well, you can't, so I'm going to hide it." "I will stab you in the face repeatedly."
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
2 therapists freaked out and threatened to call the police. I get to the 3rd one. It's an old woman with just ragged hair. She was dressed nicely, but she was a hippie. And I went through this scenario. And I said, "I'll stab you in the face." And she said, "No, you won't, because I'll stab you first." That's my girl.
Perfect. Yeah, absolutely.
We don't think that normal people. I stabbed 3 times one night because she wanted me to finish my bottle of vodka. In what world would you understand that? Well, you can't unless you've been in the shoes of an alcoholic or addict that's been to the depths of insanity, like that book says, which I love, by the way. If you haven't been there, you can't help anybody out.
Wow, it's a powerful statement, and I couldn't agree with you more. Here, you know, with our counselors actually at addiction rehab, most of them, I would say all of them, when you hear their stories, it's the difference between, I can imagine that must be hard for you, versus I've been there. I know exactly how hard it is, you know, and it's remarkable the amount of people that actually come through here, you know, recovered. And they often say, you know, how do I get involved with counseling? How do I become a counselor? How do I pass this on to other people? So yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, to understand the mind of an addict, you have to have been an addict, you know. I'm going to ask you a really out there question because I'm always curious about this. The pineal gland. I know because you mentioned earlier about our absorption of light, and I know that it's directly affected by that. Do you find that it has any purpose in recovery or addiction, or do you feel it's more like just a silent witness to everything that goes on?
So obviously there's 2 ways of looking at this. You know, even the position of where it is in the brain should tell you that it's prime importance of any kind of trauma, any kind of upset of life, when I mean by behavior and stuff like that. So we're not only detoxifying, you know, but we can it also like bodes well into recovery. So it's a small part of the brain. We know that, but the manifestation of what that can cause is absolutely amazing in recovery, 100%. And you know, we look around, it's like the anterior cerebral cortex, the ventromedial prefrontal cortex. It's the same thing with them. It's like people don't know when they come here. You know, "Oh, well, I can't control my emotions." So what we look at is that's the ventromedial prefrontal cortex. Well, what does that mean? Well, under stress or alcoholism or addiction, it shrinks. So that is created in your brain to control emotion, but it shrinks. That means it can't control emotion. So when you turn up for your first AA meeting or your first therapy and you're crying and you feel like a fool, there's a reason for that. So you've got to look at the brain, you know, intensely to find out that all these little things around the hippocampus, again, shrinks. All these things around the brain that makes up recovery, which is not just one single part of the brain. Though the hypothalamus is mind-blowing when it comes to alcoholism.
Can you elaborate on that? Why do you say mind-blowing?
Well, we've done a lot of testing over the years. We spent almost $2 million, $1.8 million on research and trials and tests and stuff like that. And what we found is, and the reason why alcoholics are born, is we trace to fetus level alcoholic gene and hypothalamus later on under action. So the hypothalamus, for those who don't know, and I wouldn't know, I'm not trying to be a big man here because I've studied so long, but it's the survival part of our brain. So the hypothalamus tells every single person, a human from birth, obviously your baby you don't know, but it's telling the body that you need to eat and you need to drink to survive. That's why babies cry and put a hand down the mouth.
Yep.
They know the fundamental basis, survival part of the brain. At a certain point of the alcoholic's journey, especially during the heavy times, the hypothalamus just before that hijacks the brain and tells the prefrontal cortex to drink alcohol only. Wow. That's why we can go days or weeks without food or water. So when the survival part of the brain is telling me to drink alcohol, away go the kids, away go the job, and nobody cares because I'm under the illusion, because my hypothalamus, if I don't drink, I'm going to die. And that's why we're frantic about, I've got one here, but where's my next one coming through? Well, I've still got half a bottle here, because it's the brain going, hey, you've got to get this, you're going to die, you're going to die, you're going to die. And we found that very fascinating. And what we also found was the basal ganglia is our learning part of the brain. Let's say a pilot needs 10,000 hours in the air. Imagine a clock face. The more things we do, the easier it becomes. Like driving a car, the more we do it, the easier it becomes. What we found out with alcoholics is, imagine a clock face, 12 o'clock, everything's good. 10 after, I relapse. 20 after, I go into some kind of detox. Half past, the wife lets me back in the house and the kids are good. 20 to the hour, I get that job offer that's mind-blowing, 6 figures. And at 10 to the hour, I'll self-sabotage and bring it all crashing down.
And right back. Wow. Yeah.
Well, and the other thing we found as well is really interesting is, let's take a set. There are billions in the head, but bear with me, guys. Let's take a set of learning stuff. So let's say we learn how to drive a car over here. This is a single neural pathway. Again, bear with me. So I get over here. Now I'm on a right-hand road with a left-hand wheel, which is really, so it takes me a few before I start learning, and all of a sudden, then pathways are fully secured, okay? Now I go back to England. Now I'm on the opposite side, opposite wheel. What happens is with that neural pathway for driving in America is it shrinks. And another neural pathway for driving in England. When I come back in a month's time, there's only this much of that thought pattern left. So for a couple of minutes, an hour, I've got to start to learn how to drive again on a different side of the road until it's fully established. Does everybody understand that? Good. Watch this. Here's the alcoholic tendencies during addiction, okay? And then we come to an end where we just can't take anymore, so we go into treatment. When we come out of treatment, that guy's not diminished. And that's why you hear people going, I went back to just where I started off. It was like going back, like 10 years was like a walk to the restroom and back, because this doesn't shrink.
Doesn't shrink.
That self-sabotaging pathways.
Wow.
Yeah. And that's what people don't understand. It's like, it's a progressive illness because the neural pathways don't shrink around that activity.
So you literally do go back right where you were. Wow. Thank you for that illustration. That's what I mean. I find that people with true understanding can take, complex concepts like that and break it down so anybody can understand it. That's really something that is imperative to remove stigma and remove, the lack of knowledge out there. Because, for so long, people have just said, oh, it's an illness, I'm helpless, and kind of gone with that route. So, wow. Dr. Robb,
Sorry, Sean.
No, go ahead.
Drug addicts are made, and they both feel the same. They're both just as bad guys. But it started when 90% of my patients that come in started the drug addiction in the doctor's office. So then we look at addictive personality, which are genius people. But they focus on a trauma, or they focus on the past that's happened to them, or they take that first Adderall from the doctor, and because of the obsessed mind, which once we get free and turn to business, you can build empires. That's the difference, So I just wanted to explain that in case people are going, what about the drug addict? It's exactly the same. It's not. We're allergic to the ethanol in alcohol. We're the only illness, the only addiction that has an allergy. that I'm allergic to not the alcohol. Funny enough, it's the ethanol in the alcohol. I have an allergy to that. And we're the only addiction that has an allergy to that source.
Thank you for clarifying that. No, absolutely. And feel free to interrupt me anytime. Absolutely. No, I appreciate it. No, I mean, that's fantastic stuff. And, I'm just so honored to talk to someone so passionate, so innovative, obviously so invested just in your client's well-being. Dr. Robb, just before we wrap up here, is there anything, you'd want to impart on people before we call it done?
So most people lost their identity in life. Most people don't know how powerful you are. You have to realize that the mind controls the brain, hence the saying, mind over matter. The brain's matter. If we could program this guy every morning, couldn't we change our life in the world? Yeah. Is it possible? Yeah, it's possible, guys. Okay? So I want you to start looking at yourself. I want you to start complimenting people. I want you to start looking at your life. I want you to start reading how powerful you are. I want you to walk a little different. I want you to look at, more confident than you are. Be the leading light, because anybody that hasn't got serious brain injury can do this. And once you find your identity, you'll find your power, because the world is lost right now. And we need guys and girls to stand up as leaders. Or surely not me. Yeah, you. If you're listening to this, you're not listening by mistake. Is stand up, because we can literally be anybody we want to do. And if you're a God guy, higher power, Uncle Jimmy, we've not gone through this to just sit there. If you've gone through all this, guys, and got sober and clean, and you're here doing nothing and not helping people, go drink. Go freaking drink, okay? Because this is like a semester at Harvard University. As we come up to this, it becomes our greatest asset going forward. It's up to us. We've been chosen to go up there and change the world. Well, I'm not sure I can change the world, Dr. Robb. Listen, next time you're in a bill area of people, watch somebody coming towards you with nice sneakers. And I want you to say 2 words to them, guys. Nice sneakers.
Nice sneakers.
Oh, thanks, man. Turn around and watch him walk away. Gonna look down at your sneakers at least 2 or 3 times. You just changed the world, but guess what? When he goes on to his wife or girlfriend, he's in a good word. Mirroring part of the brain. Now she's in a good mood. Then the mother-in-law calls. You've just changed 3 people's lives.
Yeah.
2 words, guys. So don't ever think that you're too small to make a difference in this world. It's not true. You might be the only person somebody sees. I don't have bad days, Sean. I have better days than others. But who am I to have a bad day? If I'm the only person somebody sees before they go off and do something silly, how dare me show up and tell you my woes? I do a book study Saturday morning with the homeless people. And my dad died on the Thursday evening. And I went Saturday morning, I did my book study, and it was amazing. And it was full of, come on, guys. And I walked off and my sponsor said, you okay? I said, yeah, my father died a couple of days ago. And he was, oh my God, you should. No, that's not what God gave me. God gave me the passion to go out there and guarantee people can recover. That's why God gave me doctors and best friends and, to go and speak to them about my stuff. I don't need to be bothering you when you're just about to go out and kill yourself. And then you listen to me with it's like, no.
Put them over the edge. Yeah. Yeah.
Stay strong. Amazing. It can be anything you want to be. Go out and do it, guys.
It's an incredible message. No, thank you so much, Dr. Robb. Everybody, you can follow Dr. Robb. Find him on robbkelly.com with 2 B's, ROBB Kelly.com. But, personally and on behalf of Art, thank you so much for taking the time to be here. Yeah, likewise. I really appreciate it. And that final message, absolutely, I agree. Be kind to each other out there, guys. The world's hard enough. Just be nice, pay it forward. Appreciate it. Thank you, Dr. Robb.